Orbis is an organization dedicated to providing vital eye care services to needy people worldwide. Its specially equipped McDonnell Douglas DC-10 comes with a complete surgical unit, conference center and several recovery beds. Al Yelchi, chairman of Orbis and president of Flight Safety International, sat down to chat with Arturo Weiss in the DC-10's front office. We also spoke to Captain Ken Burnham, the chief pilot for the Orbis organization.
Well, sir, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today here at Oshkosh, which is really a fantastic event, not only for the people out here, obviously, but the variety of aircraft on the grounds. And we're happy to be inside of one of the most intriguing here, I must say, on the Air Show Square, the Orbis DC-10. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the aircraft we're sitting in at the moment?
Well, this is a flying, teaching eye hospital. And this is what we do. We fly around the world and teach doctors in those countries, and mostly in undeveloped countries, how to prevent and cure blindness. And all of our doctors are volunteers, and the pilots that fly this airplane are volunteers. Most of the people are volunteers. And they're doing this to help people around the world, because there's over 90 million people blind in this world, and 2/3 of them could see if they had the proper, prevention, and cure is the big problem. And that 80% of it is preventable or curable. And this is what our doctors do. We teach them how to do it in their country. And this is about like we do in an airplane and the flight safety. What we do at flight safety is we teach pilots how to fly airplanes. And we have aeronautical education and hands-on training and simulators. And what we do in this airplane is about the same thing. It's medical education and hands-on training in the operating room here in this airplane.
Well, you mentioned the airplane as a teaching facility, so obviously you mentioned the operating room. What other equipment do you have here that allows you to do this airborne educational program, if you will?
Well, the operations is never done when we're in the air. It's all done on the ground. And the reason we need an airplane is because the doctors in many of these parts of the world, they cannot come to New York or to Houston or these hospitals in America and do the training here, because they cannot touch a patient over here. But we can take this airplane into these parts of the world, and we can teach them there in their own on their own territory. And we can take their people. What we're doing is we're teaching people, doctors, how to take care of their own people. That's just what it's all about. We're here to teach them how to do it. We're not here to do it. We have to do some of it. We taught thousands of doctors already. However, we teach them how to do that. What we do, when we go in the country with the airplane, that gets a lot of attention. As you see, it's a big, beautiful airplane. So the heads of state and heads of people, they come out to see the airplane and see what we're doing. And we get their attention. And the doctors, before we ever go to any country, we always send one of our doctors in and talk with their doctors. We never go to a country unless we're invited. We don't go in and tell them how smart we are. We just ask them what we can do and what are their problems. And our doctors talk to their doctors. And it's a great relationship, because they can tell you more than the ministers of health and all of it. We have to go through that too. But the doctors tell us what their big problems are, and then we get the best doctors to fit that particular need. So we've been doing this now since 1981. We started out in an old DC-8, and now we have a DC-10. And we've trained, I can give you the numbers. I don't want to quote out here, but until you get the numbers, we've taught thousands of doctors already. We know that the doctors we've trained, that they have worked on patients. And I think the last number we had was 17 million people that have been affected by what these doctors that we've taught are doing right now with their own people in their own country.
Captain, I appreciate you taking some time to talk to us today. And we're interested, first of all, in the pilots to fly this great aircraft. Tell us about the group of aviators that you have flying.
Well, Art, we have a group of 12 volunteer airmen made up primarily of retired airline pilots, and we also have some pilots that are still active flying with an airline and that fly the airplane. And it takes 3 of us, and typically one crew will fly the airplane into a location, and then 3 weeks, maybe a month later, another volunteer crew will come on in, pick up the airplane, and take it on to the next location. And we rotate through. The average, pilots fly 3 or 4 missions a year.
Obviously, this is a world of difference from the airline world, from the passenger world, as you had in previous experience. How do you compare this kind of flying to any of your previous airline experience?
Well, you're kind of out there by yourself, and so that's challenging. And we fly all over the world in different in remote areas of the world, which is and international flying is more challenging to begin with, and then that's probably makes it just even a little more challenging. But it is rewarding. The big thing is the fact that the flying is rewarding, but the bigger thing is that the mission we accomplish is very rewarding.
Well, you mentioned the mission, and also the fact that a lot of the pilots are volunteers. Do you get a lot of feedback or interest from people out in the industry that want to fly for Orbis?
Well, we do. I get a lot of calls from a lot of pilots that are very qualified, and like in something we'd like to accommodate them all, but we keep the group relatively small, and that is a closely knit group, and so like I said, about a dozen of us, and of course once a fellow's a volunteer pilot for Orbis, he stays a while.
Previously, off camera, we're chatting about the emotional benefits you get out of this, the rewarding experiences you come across. Can you tell us, how do you feel about being involved in such a really incredible mission?
Well, it's really hard to put into words, and I think I've tried several different ways, but I think if you really have to be a parent or a grandparent to fully appreciate this. If the thought of seeing, we do surgeries on small children, but the thought of if one of your children or one of your grandkids could be given the gift of sight as to being blind for his life, it's just tremendously rewarding. It's just hard to explain.
Well, let's talk about the airplane itself.
Right.
We're out here at Oshkosh. Obviously, there are planes everywhere. How do you feel about flying the DC-10?
Oh, I love it. It's a great airplane. The airplane, I've got a lot of time in tens, and it's just a great flying airplane. And we have our own mechanics on board, 2 flight mechanics. They take excellent care of the airplane, and it just doesn't get any better.
Do you feel it's the right aircraft for this particular kind of project?
Oh yeah, for sure. We've got good range. The airplane we can operate in relatively small airports. We usually try to hold something with 6,500 feet of runway or less, there's a lot of those kind of airports around the world, but the airplane does an excellent job.
Well, aside from flying overseas and helping those disadvantaged children and young adults, you've been doing a little bit of touring here in the States. Where have you been recently with the aircraft?
Well, recently we picked the airplane up after with some maintenance done, what we call a big check, in Venice, Italy, and we came across, stopped in Stansted, and then on Gander and on into Dayton, and then we were there for the Dayton Air Show, and then a few days ago we moved the airplane from Dayton up here to Oshkosh.
What do you think of the Oshkosh experience so far?
Well, it's tremendous. I'm a light airplane guy, and I have some old airplanes myself, and I'm the World War II buff of airplanes, and being there at Oshkosh is just great.
Well, our hats off to you and the rest of the team for really providing a great service worldwide, and appreciate you coming to Oshkosh and having us take a look at the aircraft. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Art. It's great having you guys aboard, and take the information and spread it around the world.
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you.